Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/thebplus and subscribe today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one. Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God.
Sorry, no speak English.
Tell me.
Goodbye and good night. Hold two. On bar.
It's still real to me, damn it. Tell me. Yeah.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three. The moss covers. Three-handle family credential.
Mamma mia.
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin. It was me all along, Austin.
Number 4. Armbar.
I will never retire.
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
All right, fellow B Plus players, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. Today is Thursday. You know what that means. It's bonus episode time. Last week, we had 2 bonus episodes on Thursday, and we're doing it again because there were 2 huge shows last week, and we're going to kick things off with Melbourne City Wrestling Vendetta. Of course, being an Adelaide boy myself, I was not able to get to the show, but I'm going to speak to someone who did get to the show, even though he is also an Adelaide boy. Ayden, you went over for Melbourne City Wrestling. How was it, man?
Overall, it was a pretty great show, man. A lot of rookie matches. It was good to see where they're heading for the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about on the preview, of course, you weren't on the preview episode. I didn't even know you were going over for this show, man. If I knew you were going over for the show, I would have previewed it with you. But I spoke with Dan from the Potato and Receipt, who he and I just watch these shows on Vimeo, of course, when they pop up. And I know that's quite often what you would do as well. But, yeah, we were talking about that. They've got a lot of debuting talent, you know, Tali making her first appearance, the Mile High Club, as we knew them in One Fall and in various other places, making their first appearance on Melbourne City Wrestling as well. Rat Daddy from over here making his debut. So there was a lot of new people on the show, which is really good to see.
Yeah, and then you had like Richie Taylor coming back, who was on a break for ages, faced Moody, and then he's got a big match against Jimmy as well. Yeah,
The match that we previewed it as a no DQ match anyway, because it was Jimmy Havoc, and so we just assumed it would be a no DQ match. But apparently it wasn't a no DQ match, but then they made it a no DQ match.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. All right, well, let's kick straight in. So the show kicked off just as I thought it would. Robbie Eagles, Jet Ruka, Tyson Baxter, triple threat, or they call it an Air Force 3 match. Was it as good as I anticipate it will be?
It was fantastic. Robbie made these guys look like $1 million. They all got their stuff in. The crowd connected with a lot of them, got to choose who they wanted to root for. And Robbie put them over super hard.
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of the show, of course, on Instagram. Melbourne City Wrestling have a great social media team. They get lots of stuff up there. I feel like some bits were missing though, because from what you were sending me, compared to what was on the Twitter and whatnot, there was little bits that didn't make it onto the Twitter. But of course, with people in attendance, you get all the juicy details. However, this match, I did hear a "You Killed Jet" chant at one point. and everything on Twitter on the hashtag and stuff, everyone was going nuts that like that was one of the best matches they've ever seen. Would you put it up that high?
Not one of the best rookie matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, one of the best debut matches. Sorry, yeah, I should have. Yeah, one of the best debut matches they've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd definitely put it up there.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it on demand. Now, I predicted that Robbie would shake the hands and maybe, similar to what he did with Nick Golfus here at the Rampage show in December. Did we get a similar angle there?
Yeah, it was similar. He's saying these guys are the future, and if the Academy's putting out talent like this, then Australia's in good hands, kind of thing.
Yeah. I see big things for. I mean, obviously, I picked them as my act to watch from Melbourne for the year for 2019. So I see big things for Jet Rooker and Tyson Baxter. Was this your first time seeing them perform?
In person, yes. I saw them on those One Fall shows, and they were really impressive. And which makes me wonder, are they going to be a team in MCW, or are they going to be solo guys? So who knows?
Right. Well, when I talked to them, they did talk about, we mentioned that there's a hole opening up in the division there with the Phillip brothers, who sort of went after the gold for a bit, and then they've straight away disbanded and headed overseas. And we speculated that that's probably they were probably slated to have a better run in the tag division, but unfortunately, of course, they ended up being signed as young boys over at the Fale Dojo, so that probably cut that short.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent missing as well, like you said, with the Philippe Bros, and now they're rushing that main event with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if they don't have the Mile High Club together, having them as singles could work out really well, because people were picking fan favorites. Like there was a lot of people going for Jet, a lot of people going for Tyson. Could open up a junior division if they really wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like the tag division's not necessarily the strongest in Melbourne City Wrestling. I mean, we talk about this a lot with tag team wrestling in Australia. Everywhere has good tag teams, but whether they have tag team, like enough tag teams to have their own division. Like Australia could have a kick-ass tag team division on the whole, but each individual promotion only really have 2 or 3 tag teams each.
Yeah, I heard you mention that, and looking at it as well, like with MCW, they had Brat Pack as champion for ages, and you've had like 2-3 teams like on rotation, then they'd break up, but there'd be only Brat Pack left, and it's pretty empty roster.
Yeah, so that's where I feel like there's a nice hole there for the Mile High Club. I think that they would have some great matches with Brat Pack. Obviously, Loose and Reckless are staying together beyond this show, where I'd predicted that they wouldn't necessarily, but they're staying together. They're the champions now. We'll get to that shortly. So they could have a brilliant match with Ruka and Baxter, and of course, Dowie being one of the guys responsible for training these guys at the academy. I'm sure that they would be able to pull off some pretty incredible stuff.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do. I think having them as Mile High Club would be the best, and maybe the Law can test them, see how they do as a tag team.
Yeah, because in terms of singles, like there's a lot going on in Melbourne City Wrestling, but I think in terms of tag team, I think that definitely Mile High Club are kind of needed as a tag team. So I hope that they do. I hope they do come together and do more tag team stuff. But moving on, we then got Indy Hartwell defeating Tali. This was Tali's debut in Melbourne City Wrestling. How'd she go?
Tali was great. A lot of people got behind her. Very promising talent. Like, I've seen her on the Glow show, I think, against Avery not too long ago. That was my first time seeing her. And yeah, she has potential to be one of the best in that division.
Yeah, so she recently got back from training with Black and Brave, which, for those who don't know, is Seth Rollins' training academy over in the States. So, she's got a good pedigree there. She also trains, of course, at the Australian Pro Wrestling Gym before that. So definitely got a good pedigree there.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Who else can get trained by Seth Rollins? Who can say that?
Well, there's a couple now. There's a couple in Australia. I mean, Jackson Kelly. There's Aria Rain from Queensland is another one.
Yep.
Zeke Andino, also in Queensland. There's a couple in Queensland. that have been trained by Seth Rollins, and yeah, Jackson Kelly's the other big one that comes to mind.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have to look into that.
Yeah, we've got a couple now. It's becoming kind of like the new. Remember when everyone was going to train with Lance Storm?
Yeah, everyone was like gone over to Canada just to train with him after
Yeah, so
Carlo went over.
Yeah, so I mean, Carlo went over. I think some guys over in Western Australia, like the Shark was trained over there. Then you've got of course, famously Emma and Billy and Peyton both went over as well.
You got
right?
Dean Valente from Adelaide as well, who went over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of our guys have that Lance Storm pedigree, and that sort of carries on throughout the Australian lineage. But yeah, Seth Rollins' school seems like the new hot destination, taking over the Lance Storm Academy. Sorry, Lance. I guess that's what happens when you give some of our veterans some hashtag free veteran advice.
Definitely right. But yeah, Tali was great, but I felt the match wasn't the best. It could have been better. Indy seemed very lost, and she worked kind of lazy. The crowd didn't really get behind it, but they were cheering on Tali.
Right. Okay. So that seems odd to me because we know I'm a big Indy Hartwell fan. I rock the support indie wrestling tee a lot, and she comes over here, of course, she's done shows over here with Riot City. She's done shows with Iron Fist, BCW when they come over here. I think brought her out last time as well. I'm a big fan. I've seen her work a few times, and I'm a big fan of Indy's work. Was it just like off night sort of stuff, or?
I think she's lost with what she's doing. Like, I'm a big fan of hers as well. But then, like, you had a face turn at one of the shows when she came out to challenge Avery or whatever that was. And then this match, she's working as a heel. Like, she spent most of the match, like, arguing with the crowd, which I think took from it. And
right, yeah. Also, yeah, the Indy versus Avery thing is interesting because they are both fantastic heels. And they've both spent a lot of time gathering heat with that Thornbury crowd. I don't know who MCW want us to root for in this little feud that they've got going on, because they're definitely building up to Indy versus Avery, right?
Yeah, they are, which we can touch on later because there was an angle which involved setting that up.
Right, well, Indy picks up the win, and then the very next match is Shazza versus Avery. So tell us what happened in that one.
Shazza and Avery, like, it wasn't the best for me. I'm not a fan of Shazza's style. I just felt they had no chemistry. It wasn't the best. And then you had Indy come out to stop Avery from picking up the win. She pushed her off the top rope, and Shazza picked up the win. So it was like, is Indy meant to be a heel? Is she a face? I don't know.
Right, so because she's interfering... Well, she wasn't really interfering on the face's behalf with Shazza McKenzie. She was more interfering against the heel, but that still kind of makes you a face, or at the very least an anti-hero kind of situation. It is kind of confusing there. Having the heel versus... Especially with two people that are so well built as heels, right? Because they both have fantastic history getting heat from that crowd.
Yeah, but Avery's been getting a lot of fan favoritism lately over Indy, so I'm not sure if Indy's like tweener or if she's like... I'm not sure. She was face and then she starts arguing with the crowd when she's heel. She seems really lost with what she's doing. So maybe... Is it a
matter of like MCW going like the WWE route of cheer who you want to cheer? These are just characters interacting organically. Is that...
Yeah, it seems a bit like that, but I think the crowd is double turning and it's going to be Indy the heel and they're turning Avery face naturally, which I can probably see happening.
Yeah, which will then be weird given her alignment with the Brat Pack, who the crowd are not turning face anytime soon.
Definitely not.
So there's some interesting dynamics going on. Sometimes, I feel like the Indy versus Avery story is fantastic. Also, I feel like we've glossed over the fact that you're not a fan of Shazza McKenzie's style. How can you not be a fan of Shazza? I love Shazza McKenzie. Anyway, it's just the story that they're telling with Indy and Avery. It does, like, I like the story itself. Like, Kellyanne has gone, and I think Kellyanne even said on Twitter, let the kids bicker while I'm gone, because Kellyanne's gone and they've both sort of stepped up, like, I'm the best in the women's division. I own this women's division. I run this women's division. And they're both sort of bickering over that. And it makes sense for them to do that. But yeah, just the fact that they both have such heat from the crowd, it kind of makes it a little confusing because when they do eventually face off, unless that's what they're going for and they're really trying to turn Avery face, which means she'll probably distance herself from the Brat Pack, you got to think.
Yeah, it's interesting the way they're building it. Like you said, like maybe Indy's the one turning face. You don't know, like with the way she's lost. And honestly, it's just really confusing. But Avery's been distancing herself from Brat Pack, maybe, lately. She hasn't been around as much.
Well, she shows up in the tag team match that we're about to talk about, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
so I don't know where they're going with it.
I'm so confused, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, the booking seems a little messy. I don't blame you for being confused. This definitely, I mean, just looking at it on paper looks confusing. I'm curious to see how it plays out when I watch the show on demand. I'm definitely looking forward to getting that one and sinking my teeth into it.
Maybe you can make sense of it because right now I can't put it into words.
Well, on paper as well, both the Indy and Tali match and the Shazza and Avery match, they're two of the matches I was most excited for on this show. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it, and maybe I'll have a different takeaway from it than you did. But on paper, it does seem a little confusing. But we'll move on to something that was far less confusing, even with Avery's involvement, which I think set up one of the spots of the night from what I'm hearing. The Loose and the Reckless have reunited. Sex Rock have reunited, all because the Brat Pack have claimed that they are the greatest tag team in MCW history. Now, how do you feel about their claim to being the greatest tag team in MCW history?
They've got a good claim behind it. They've beaten everyone, and then everyone else has either broken up, left, or gone on to other things, and they're still the ones hanging around being the longest reigning champs, I'm pretty sure. So
Right, yeah. Well, no, I don't think they are the longest reigning champs. I think that they were close. I think they were closing in on the Loose and Reckless. The Loose and Reckless are still the longest reigning champs as far as I know. And I think that yeah, I'm pretty sure the Brat Pack were closing in on them, which I guess they're not anymore because they lost the titles. Loose and Reckless looks like they're sticking around for a while. So Adam Brooks and Dowie James, of course, Sex Rock being Elliot Sexton and Jonah Rock for those who are unfamiliar. But yeah, Loose and Reckless, it looks like they're back together. They're a team. How did they work together on the night? Was there any? Because I mean, they had a tense breakup.
Loose and Reckless, they worked together like nothing had happened. Like it was like Loose and Reckless were back together again, and for good. They worked smooth, a lot of chemistry. It was great.
So I predicted that there may have been a bit of tension and that maybe it would take a while for them. I thought Brat Pack would retain in this match. And honestly, I'm again with the booking, I'm a bit confused as to, like, for me, I feel like Loose and Reckless being the face team and being their first match back together as a team, I think that you could have dragged this out. And again, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, who's gone where and all that sort of stuff, but I really felt like it would have been better to have this dragged out and maybe have them denied here and Brat Pack run and try to, make it to surpass them. And then right on the eve of them surpassing them as the longest reigning champs, then you could have Loose and Reckless pick up the win. Unless they were already on the eve of, like, if they were going to surpass them between now and the next show, then it makes sense. And I think that's something that commentary would clear up for sure.
That would have been an interesting way to do it. And I only thought the Law would have been a tag team for this one show only. It looked like it was going to be that way, but they played the whole crowd. Dowie faked the turn, like just the way Brooksy did it. And
right, with jumping off the apron, leaving him for dead.
Yeah, but then he came back in, done like that rolling cutter thing, and then they got the win. So
yeah. And Sex Rock, though, with the spot of the night from what I'm hearing.
Oh, I don't know how to put that into words. There was a spot where Sexton was going to pick up the win or something like that. And then Avery hops up on the apron to cause a distraction, putting her assets on the rope. And while he was looking at it, Jonah Rock decides to get up on the other side of the ring and like lift up his ring gear between his assets, and there's like a war between who Elliot Sexton's going to pick.
Right, so we have a real life Temptation Island / playing out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Better than what WWE are doing with Mandy Rose and Jimmy Uso.
Oh, way better. Ultimately, Elliot Sexton picked Avery. He gave her a kiss, and then Jonah Rock got heaps jealous, and then Jonah Rock ended up just kissing him anyway.
Right. And which I hear was pop of the night. Based on Twitter, the place exploded like they did when Robbie kicked out at 1.
Yeah, it was probably equal to that. It was fantastic.
That's insane. That's insane that just Elliot Sexton and Jonah Rock sharing a snog can pop the place as well as that incredible piece of art that was put together. Not to take anything away from this moment, of course, because I love it. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. But that Gino piledriver Robbie kick out at 1 was such an incredible moment. Like, everyone in the room, I was there for that one, and everyone in the room was like, we're going to get new champions. And it was, we're going to get a new champion. And everyone was just so stoked and on their feet. And to hear that the same thing happened just from Elliot Sexton and Jonah Rock, sharing a bit of a smooch. I mean, what masters of the craft to get the crowd that invested.
Yeah, and the pops were even bigger because Brock ended up kissing absolutely everyone besides the Brat Pack.
Of course he did. Why wouldn't he?
But yeah, Sex Rock were the highlights of the match. Besides the comedy work rate, Sexton first match in a while since coming back from the US. He hasn't lost a step. Still the hardest chops I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
And,
well, I talked about seeing clips on Instagram and stuff, and he was just throwing Dowie around like a rag doll and just kicking people in faces, just Sexton doing Sexton things.
Yeah, kicking Dowie in the face and then just throwing the Razor's Edge throw over the ropes and nearly killing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just Jonah's reactions to when Sexton was chopping one of the Brat Pack, it was hilarious, and they just made the whole night. What topped it off, though, was the streamers for Jonah's entrance.
Yes. Right, streamers for Jonah, because this is, of course, Jonah's farewell tour.
Yeah, he's got one more match, and that's in Adelaide, but that was his last match in MCW, and it was a great send-off for him.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say about Jonah Rock, right? Like, an absolute legend in the game for us here in Australia, and super proud that he's doing whatever he's doing, because he hasn't announced that. We don't know, which confuses me a little, because somebody else made an announcement at this show. Can you tell us about Loverboy? Because Jonah Rock's going, we know he's leaving, we know he's having his last match in Adelaide, Tommy Night, February 2nd, get to the Wrestle Rampage show. We know that that's happening. We know that Jonah is leaving us, but we don't know where, right? Like, it's very heavily implied. There are rumors that he's going to WWE, but there's been no official announcement. But then, out comes Loverboy Lockie Hendricks.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Christmas has come and gone, and with it, the disappointment of those Secret Santa staples, the shave kit, the sports hygiene packs, and seasonal socks is fading. As we roll on, though, into the new year, it's time to make resolutions. So why not resolve to look better in 2019 and get yourself the gift that keeps on giving and never disappoints? Threadbox. Threadbox is a subscription clothes shopping service which for as little as $40 per month will send you a box of personally curated goodies straight to your doorstep. I get the $160 package, which comes with over $200 worth of fresh goodies each month. Kept me looking fly for all my Christmas engagements this year. You get to communicate with the Threadbox stylist assigned to you by email regarding what it is you need, and they will tailor the box accordingly. And in the unlikely event that you don't like what they send you, you send it back, they will replace it with something new and make note of the things you don't like so that they can avoid that kind of thing in the future. Threadbox is a truly unbelievable service that no man should be living without, so head over to threadbox.com.au today and use our code TheB+15 when you check out to get 15% off your first box. January is here and we are fast approaching WrestleMania season. Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania are around the corner, so the time to dilly-dally is past us. If you want to experience WrestleMania live, and who doesn't, let's be honest, you deserve it. The best and really the only way to do it is with All Aussie Travelers. All Aussie Travelers are new to the wrestling travel package game, but they are veterans at travel, and they have put together a package that cannot be beaten. For less than $7,500, all Aussie travelers are going to send you to New York, New York, with return flights, airport transfers, full accommodation, and tickets to the WWE Hall of Fame, NXT pre-show party, NXT TakeOver, WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and more. The coolest part about these packages is that for NXT TakeOver, Raw, and SmackDown, you are going to be seated in your own private VIP suite, normally not available to the public, but all Aussie travelers have you covered, man. They got this locked down. It has its own bar, it has its own bathroom access, and all the luxuries that a VIP box comes with, not least of which, of course, an incredible view for everything happening in the ring. All of this for under $7,500. They're practically giving these packages away, man. You'd be crazy not to check it out. So head over to All Aussie Travelers on Facebook. The link is in the show notes. And tell them that the B Plus sent you. And let's go watch WrestleMania in style.
Yeah, he comes out. He's been tweeting for a while that he was going to make an announcement, whatever. He got approval from management to do it.
Well, he hasn't been tweeting. David Geller has been tweeting on his behalf.
Yeah, I didn't know the name. I just said those tweets on his account.
Yeah, he hired a social media manager because he was being bullied online. Yeah. And so, great move. I want to get Loverboy on the show. So, brilliant move to avoid that bullying. It's disgusting, disgusting that the fans would bully such. I mean, he just wants to go out there and wrestle, you know. But carry on. His big announcement was approved by MCW management.
Yeah, he comes out and he says he gets a phone call from Uncle Paul. And
Uncle Paul, interesting.
And
where does Uncle Paul live?
Uncle Paul lives in Connecticut.
Oh, gee, I wonder who that could be.
I have no idea. But yeah, he says he's signed with WWE, NXT, and he's doing his farewell tour.
Right, because he's going to relocate to Orlando.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's
I don't know
if it was a
work. I don't know if that was a shoot or if it was part of a storyline, but he definitely worked a lot of people.
See, this is the thing. You messaged me from the show. You're like, look, he just announced he signed with WWE. And I'm like, wait, for shoot? And you're like, I think so. And so I messaged a couple of other people and everyone's like, no, it's a work. And then other people are like, I don't know. And it was one of those moments where I'm like trying to figure it out because I'm at home and I'm trying to figure out, do I post about this? Do I not? Like, what's going on? Is he actually going to WWE?
The way he delivered it was super serious and like, there was no punchline to it. He said there's a farewell tour. He's been signed and he left. So,
well, I mean, the punchline is Uncle Paul has called me and I'm going to Orlando. Didn't he do the whole? Did he do stuff like I'm glad that I'm getting out of this shithole? Did he do any of that or?
A little bits and pieces, but yeah, it was just no one came out to interrupt him, which I thought was weird. Like he just said, "Yeah, I'm leaving. See you all later," and he's going to be face of NXT Australia.
Right. Well, interesting stuff. I mean, look, David Geller has tweeted out that he's doing this farewell tour, and so he's taking some limited bookings for his remainder of time here in the country. And look, he mentioned specifically in the tweet podcasts. He mentioned podcasts, and so I've sent an email. I've sent it through. I haven't heard a response yet. I'm sure that he's being swamped with requests because he is a megastar. And I'm sure David Geller will eventually get back to me with regards to having Lockie on the show, and we'll investigate further. You know, we'll ask the hard questions, like, why does he get to call him Uncle Paul? You know, these are the questions that we have to ask. Also, you know, people are talking that, you know, maybe it's kind of a pussy move to hire a social media manager because you're being bullied, right? I'm not saying that, but there are people. There are people in the wider community that want to know, and I'm the voice of the people, if nothing else. So I got to ask, so Loverboy, if David Geller, if either of you are listening, let me know. I would love to have you on the show so we can talk about this farewell tour. And people should definitely get out to any show Lockie is on, and sing nya 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 goodbye, etc. Because you know he's leaving us. So you gotta come with the appropriate chants. Moving on though. You touched on it earlier. Richie Taylor back at MCW for a match with Jimmy Havoc, and they turned this one into a no DQ match.
Yes, and I personally, for me, I didn't like the match. I thought Jimmy Havoc worked a bit lazy. I'm not sure if it was from the fly or anything. Richie Taylor tried to carry the match the best he can. There was like a pretty lackluster match for no DQ, no real blood or anything. Just, I didn't know how to put it. It wasn't great.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
I mean, I didn't actually, I didn't see much from this match, but the match Jimmy Havoc had on Sunday at PWA, I've seen plenty of footage from that one, and it looks brutal. So you're saying that this one, just completely different vibe? It wasn't as hardcore as it could have been?
Yeah, it wasn't as hardcore. The atmosphere wasn't that great. I think maybe from the tags, maybe the atmosphere wasn't great. Like, it was just...
Like people were exhausted from the excitement of the previous match?
Yeah, and just the match just looked like it was just there.
Right. I mean, I'd predicted originally that the tag match would be the main event because it has the best build, that tag match. It has the best build, and it's for a title, which, I mean, you can always say, of course, the MCW World title is more important because it is the MCW World title. It's the main singles title, but this is the MCW Tag Team titles. It's the main tag team title, and I consider tag team wrestling and singles wrestling to be on par. So if you want to put the tag team title in the main event, I say fucking go for it. Like, this match had build. This match was fantastic.
And it had the farewell, which would have been a good send-off for the main event.
Yeah, of course, it had the farewell with Jonah, and you could have left with Jonah in the ring. You know, he could have been the last guy out, and then you don't have those ebb and flow issues where people were so excited for that match, and then here comes Jimmy Havoc and Richie Taylor, and Richie Taylor, of course, is not. I mean, he's had a few matches in MCW, but he's not necessarily had that time to build that super strong connection with the Thornbury crowd. Would you say?
He's definitely got a following there. Like, he held up his end. I just think it was just Jimmy Havoc's fault.
Jimmy Havoc's fault, right? Strong. Well, I mean, international travel can be a bitch.
Yeah,
so
I said it might have been jet lag or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that go into it, but we'll just skip straight ahead. Slex, and we didn't touch on what would eventually become the main event, because that kicked off the show, didn't it?
Yeah, well, we can tie that in because. Yeah.
All right. But before we get to that, Slex defended the Intercommonwealth Championship against Adelaide's own, our boy Rat Daddy.
Yes, my boy. When he worked heel for the first time ever this match, which was interesting to see.
Well, oh wow, right. Yeah, of course, because the Thornbury crowd have turned Slex's face, basically.
Yeah, it's like was it the Brett and Stone Cold, like the crowd just naturally turned him. He didn't turn himself.
Just a nice organic turn, yeah. And Rat Daddy's working heel, I guess based solely off he's against Slex and he's from another state.
Yeah, based solely because he's against Slex, and then as soon as they said he's from Adelaide, the crowd's just like boo.
Yeah,
standard Adelaide Melbourne feud.
Keep it classy, Melbourne. Keep it classy. Just booing people because they're from another place. You know what that's called? That's called bigotry. Okay. But I mean, look, Rat Daddy is so over here. Like, it's insane. It's like an experience when you go to a Wrestle Rampage show to just feel the way the crowd heats up for Rat Daddy.
He's crazily over. It's like Jonah Rock over, and then to hear him getting booed and see him work as a heel, it was very different.
Yeah. Yeah, so did he impress? Did people walk away thinking, like, that match was match of the night, that match was amazing, or was it...
It was a slow start. It picked up. They worked really well together, and towards the end of the match, people started to take to Rat, and they applauded him afterwards. He got, like, the please come back.
Nice. That's what you want. If you get the please come back your first time in a new territory, you get the please come back, you know you've done a good job.
Yeah, definitely. I think people took to what he was. Rat's fantastic, and hopefully next time he comes back as a face, because it's really weird seeing him as a heel.
Yeah. Did he play the heel okay though? Was he using cheap tactics, or was it just because the crowd were against him?
He did like heelish tactics, like taking Slex's glasses, which is a no-no in people's eyes.
Ooh. Yeah, no, you don't do that.
Yeah, he broke the glasses, and yeah, he worked the heel pretty well.
Nice. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that even more now. Like I was amped for this match, but knowing that he actually worked heel in it too, I'm definitely interested to see that. And then we get to the main event. So the main event, Gino Gambino, Mike Burr for the MCW World Heavyweight Championship. Now this match wasn't advertised. The Gino was on the poster, of course, but he wasn't advertised as actually being in a match. So tell us how this one actually came about.
As you said, World Heavyweight Championship. The show opened with them giving Gino Gambino a brand new belt. It is now the MCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Right. Which, I mean, technically, I guess he defended the title when he was over
Ireland.
Was it in
Yeah,
Ireland?
Ireland.
Yeah. So it's, I always get so confused with this stuff. I mean, look, it's wrestling, so companies can do what they want, but I always thought, like, you know, it's two continents, that's an intercontinental belt, right? Because it's been defended on two continents. But to be a world title, you need to be defended on 3+, right? I mean, that's like the general rule. Like, I don't know. It's not even a rule. It was like a question I saw once upon a time on the Squared Circle Reddit when I was like 14, you know? And someone was like, how do you designate what's a title? Like, what's a world title? What's a North American title? And they're like, well, you have to defend in this many states and you have to defend in this many continents. And I was like, hey, that makes sense. And I've just sort of always held it as fact. But MCW, I guess, blowing that out of the water. They're like, nah, 2 continents, that's good. We're good. He's had a defense outside the country. It's a world title.
Yeah, so they give him the world belt, and then Mike Burr comes out and says a couple of things. I can't remember exactly what he said. And then Gino Gambino's just like, he'll throw the old dog a bone and gave him a title match at the end of the night.
Right. Interesting. Which, I mean, look, Mike Burr, Gino Gambino, fantastic workers. I'm sure the match was great. But again, that I really feel like that tag team match should have main evented. Like, I'm going to have to watch the show before I can personally judge.
The match itself, I think it could have been way better because there was a streaker in the match and it took from it and things had to get rushed and...
Right, which, I mean, that's no fault of the people in the ring, of course. And yeah, let's touch on this. Fuck you to that guy.
Yeah, fuck him. He was pissed drunk, naked from the waist down, runs in, like jumps the guardrail, runs in, and then gets punt kicked to the head by Gino, and everyone's focused on this guy because he gets knocked out and just takes from the whole match.
Yeah, good that he got knocked the fuck out, and I hope that there's no legal issues for MCW as a result, because that's fucking ridiculous. I mean, look, I am all for having fun at shows, getting pissed off your tits, go for it. But you need to be able to control yourself, right? Like, be sensible, be in control of yourself. This is just in life, not just at wrestling shows.
And there's kids and shit there as well. They didn't need to see some old dude's balls floating around in the middle of a wrestling show.
Oh, that's right. He had his pants off like a freaking moron. Yeah, that... Just not on. I'm glad Gino knocked him out, to be honest with you.
It's depressing because Burr is one of the hardest workers, and I think he's coming to an end of his career, and that might have been his last title show. Who knows? And having some dickhead ruin it like that is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, well, hopefully they throw the old dog another bone, so to speak, and we get maybe even a rematch of this. Like, you know, we were interrupted last time, so yeah, I'll give you another go. Doesn't seem like something that'd be in Gino's character, but hey, I feel like it's something that they could do.
I hope they give it another chance.
Yeah, but there's definitely a clear reason beyond just this is a world title. There's definitely a clear reason this was the main event of the show.
Yeah, the match was definitely a filler because the business himself, Slex, came out afterwards to challenge Gino in a title versus title match. Right,
so did Gino accept?
He accepted, and there's a contract signing next show, I believe.
Okay, so it's not going to be at Uprising, because at Uprising they're going to have the Tome and Stevie showdown, which we should touch on as well. So they're going to have a contract signing at the next show, and then they're going to have the big title versus title match. And it's winner takes all, yeah?
Yeah, winner takes all, yes. And I think an idea for me, maybe they might merge the two belts.
Right. That makes sense. But then you're left without without a belt for the undercard, which, I mean, the Intercommonwealth title has been so elevated at this point that they're almost on par with each other. So merging them makes sense. Do they then bring in another belt for the lower card, do you think?
Like I said earlier, maybe they could bring in a junior belt.
Right.
They could do that. I'm not sure. That's just me guessing. But
then you've got like guys in the then you've got guys in the undercard like Master Andrew Arthur, right? And he can't go for a junior belt.
That's true. It's like, well, if Slex is double champion or Gino's double champion, what happens? Like, does he decide which belt he wants to defend? Like, does one belt not get defended enough? It's kind of a weird situation.
Maybe the Intercommonwealth has to be vacated. Maybe it's like options. No, because they said winner takes all, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely a curious situation. And honestly, I'm not a fan of the main event just to set up an angle. Like, obviously, this angle is a great show closing angle. Having those two stare down, over the titles, that's fantastic. But I can't get past it. I'll need to watch the show to make my final judgment, but I can't get past the feeling that the tag match should have been the main event. I'm stuck on this. I can't move past it. I'm very sorry.
When the card got announced, I said the same thing to you. Tag should be main.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're both huge fans of tag team wrestling, though. So we're a bit biased on that. But I just think it was
felt like it should
such
be.
a well built match. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. But they did. So the other couple of breaking news that we should touch on: Tome Philippe and Stevie Philippe.
Yes, Tome came out, addressed how he won that the number one contenders for any title match, MCW 100, if you remember.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
then cashing in to face Brat Pack, and then Tome's all like, during that tag match, I saw you had a weakness or something like that, and you slipped up. And he's like, if I saw that, everyone saw that, and I didn't want to risk it, so he left.
Okay.
And then Stevie comes out and said, now it's going to be brother versus brother, this is war, all that kind of stuff, and they set up a main event for the next show.
Nice. So they're going to be the main event for the next show, which is great to see them in the main event. Is that their last show before shipping off to New Zealand?
I think it may be. Don't quote me on that. But having those two guys main this early on probably makes a lot of sense for that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That one's going to be an incredible match, too. I think that it's one that we could... I don't want to hype it up too much, but it's one that could definitely be still being talked about coming into the
I
year.
think there should be stipulation to it. If it's just the normal singles, it might be a bit underwhelming. Maybe like a no DQ or for like I quit or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, these guys they're brothers. They've been wrestling each other probably since they were, knee high.
Yeah.
So
they've had the feud. They've been feuding around the country as well. So it's kind of a good payoff for them if they do something big for the main event.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The chemistry between brothers is always huge, and so to put that in a special match for a main event, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We also found out that Mikey Nichols is returning.
Yes, the former member of the mighty Nick Miller, who's now gone back to Mikey Nichols. There was a video promo airing. It's just like there was once a team called there was once the Mighty or something, and now he's the Mad or something.
Yeah, and the Mad don't
Yeah,
kneel.
I thought that was a bit weird, but yeah, he's coming back for the February 2nd show, which is, I'm disappointed because I've got the same day for Jane Rock's last show in Australia.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting day. So February 2nd is EPW have a show on, their first show of the year, Hot Summer's Night. Rampage have their first show on, Never Surrender. And Melbourne City Wrestling, of course, with Uprising. And Mikey Nichols is returning at Uprising in Melbourne City, even though EPW is traditionally his home. So very, very interesting. It could just be MCW is arguably the biggest promotion in Australia, so it could be a case of wanting to make the biggest impact, and so heading there instead of EPW. But I think it's odd that all three are running on the same night when, I've spoken to people, I've spoken to Jonah, and they say they always try to make sure they're not running even against interstate things, because, having, for example, Robbie on this Rampage show means he can't work the MCW show, etc., etc.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so they try to work together to avoid this kind of thing. So I don't know if it was unavoidable or if something's happening here. Now, I mean, look, TMDK are featuring heavily on all these shows, right? You got Jonah Rock's last match. You got Mikey Nichols' return. Slater and Pitt, of course, are staples over in EPW. Could we see a big TMDK angle across the 3 shows? That's conspiracy Greg coming out once again.
That's reaching a bit, but I can see where you're coming from. Maybe it's just a coincidence. You never know.
Yeah, well, look, I think the companies, for their credit, they're saying it's a coincidence, but they could be working me, man. I don't trust anyone in wrestling. It's my rule. I don't trust anything a wrestler ever says because they're always working.
But the thing is, who does Mikey Nichols face? I've been trying to figure it out, and honestly, I can't put it on anyone.
Does he face anyone? Does he show up during the contract signing and insert himself into those proceedings?
I don't think it'd go like that. He's got to face someone. Maybe he faces... no, I was going to say Robbie, but he's going to be here for Rampage, I think.
Well, he's on the poster for Rampage. So I'm assuming he's going to be at the Rampage show, but who knows? Who knows? Things are heating up in Australian wrestling. But it's weird to me to see Nichols returning to MCW as opposed to EPW.
Yeah, and coming back so soon from his departure from NXT. Being MCW, I think it's because of the crowd and being the biggest company.
You want real conspiracy, Greg?
Yes, go for it.
He didn't really ask for his release. He's a spy for Triple H. He's here to scout, and he's going to sign everyone. He's already taken Lockie. He's already put Lockie in touch with Uncle Paul, and who knows who's next.
With the news of NXT Australia breaking, he's probably going to recruit everyone.
Well, hang on. Hold your horses. With the news of an NXT Australia. Triple H said 4 to 5 years we may have an NXT Australia. So
putting performance centers over the world, so that's pretty much a guarantee that he's going to come siphon us.
Well, you got to think it's coming, but look, that's a whole different episode. That's a whole different episode.
That's just for fun.
But yeah, my conspiracy Greg, which is Greg Unchained's alternate. Conspiracy Greg says that Mikey Nichols is a spy and we shouldn't trust him. He's here to co-opt the entire scene, and destroy it from the inside. I don't believe that. I think WWE coming in is a good thing. But that wraps it up for the MCW show. Is there anything else?
One thing though, what is it? Preston and Payne promos throughout the whole show.
See, this is something no one told me this, so I didn't have this included in my notes or anything. What were the Preston and Payne promos?
Them talking it out, cause what show was it that they got back to while they got sort of together?
That was at the New Horizons, where the one before the Super Showdown, because I was there when Preston made his return.
Yeah, that, and since then the promos have been, I think it's just been them working it out, and now they're back reunited. The last promo was them hugging it out. And Preston and Payne are back, so I'm pretty sure they're coming for Helter Skelter. Nice.
So that's good. Building a tag division. That's what I want to see. So with them back together, you still got Helter Skelter, of course. And I really think Mile High Club will do great things there too. So that's very good because tag divisions are super important in my books. The other thing we should touch on too is the announcement with SPW.
Oh yes, the Super Show. Was it SPW, MCW at the stadium thing in July?
Southern Rumble, yeah. ILT Stadium in Invercargill. It's on the South Island. I looked up flights already, and it's hard to get to. It's not a cheap trip, but
go to Christchurch and drive down.
It's in July, right? So they've given us plenty of time. So we'll keep an eye on the Sky Scanners and the cheap flights and all of those to see when a sale happens, and we'll let everyone know because this is it could be the biggest show in the Southern Hemisphere in a while.
Well, you've had guys like J.K. Moody and Jacob Cross and all those guys talking about wanting to come to MCW, Invade or what, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and I guess this is the whole thing where MCW are going to SPW first, and then they'll probably come over here, and we can see a territory war kind of thing.
Yeah, do we think it's gonna be an SPW versus MCW type situation, or do we think that there will be MCW matches, there will be SPW matches?
I think it will be SPW versus MCW.
Right. I'm definitely interested.
Because you've had people calling out each other on Twitter, so it'll be interesting to see.
I'm very interested to see how it goes down, because SPW Southern Rumble last year drew 1,200 plus people. Of course, MCW 100 was in a similar ballpark, around the 1,200 people range as well. So, these are companies that are doing quite well on their own, and to see them teaming up, you can only imagine what's going to go down when these guys team up. I think the
super match probably be either Kane Khan or JK Moody against Slex. That's one match I want to see.
Yeah, I think Kane Khan and Slex. I think Slex takes the world title, and Kane Khan versus Slex is definitely one that I think should be on the cards. It's going to be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But we'll do that one when it comes around to it. But thank you so much for jumping on to let me know what happened at Melbourne City Wrestling. Anything else you want people to know before you go?
Nothing at all. Just keep supporting the local scene.
Yeah, awesome. And of course, you can follow me at Greg Unchained on Twitter, and Instagram is the Greg Unchained. We are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter, the B Plus Wrestling on Facebook, the B Plus Wrestling on Spotify, the B Plus Wrestling on iTunes, the B Plus
everything.
Yeah, well, the B Plus on Patreon. So patreon.com/the B Plus, right? And that's where you can go if you want to support us in our mission to watch global, support local. We talk about everything, and then we do every cent that comes in goes back into helping the scene grow and helping this thing grow so that we can cover the scene and get it out there for the rest of the world. Like, share, subscribe, give us a 5-star review if you like what we do. And thank you so much for listening.
Hold one! Arm drag! You're not doing this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon. You just made the list. Oh my God!
So, no speak English.
Dummy! Goodbye and good night. Hold two! On bar!
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy! Hold three! The moss covered! Three-handle family grudunzo!